Hello, everyone. This is James, the Ghost Set Killah, and we're here with Put 'em on the Glass podcast. Today, we talk to Matt from Australia. We talk a little personal, we talk a little professional. And remember, the opinions and information given by the host and the guest are their opinions and their opinions alone. Although there is overlap between their professional life and their personal life, all information given should be checked against industry standards and is completely separate from the professional lives of the host and the guest. So please enjoy Put 'em on the Glass podcast and get ready for Matt. What is good, everyone? This is James, the Ghost Set Killah with Put 'em on the Glass podcast. We are going back to Australia again, and every time I'm pumped to do these shows. It's the scene going on down there is amazing. It blows my mind. But who is today's guest?
My name is Matthew Sanford. I am a 32-year-old windscreen fitter from Canberra, Australia. And yeah,
So
I've owned my own.
you're
Yeah, you
windscreen
go.
fitters.
Windscreen fitter. Yeah, I'd say we're a windscreen fitter. The term technician has sort of come into the Australian scene since probably 2020. I reckon people started moving from fitter to technician. Now, I've always gone by I fit windscreens to cars because it's sort of the simplest way to explain what we do.
Yeah. Well, I know it was installer for here for years. It was a throwback to the old school, the original installers from the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. And then when we started getting into the 2000s, we were making this push for more professionalism. And my friend Jacques Navant spearheaded this movement in our industry to be called technicians, to add a little bit of professionalism and a little bit of self-respect to what we do. And I thank him for it because I enjoy calling myself a technician more than I do an auto glass installer. And it's just one of those, to me, it's a blue-collar job that deserves respect. So being called a technician, there's a lot of industries out there that have technicians that are like, you do what? You're a technician in what? But at least, we work on people's windshields, back glasses, quarter glasses, everything to do with the car, the windshields. Oh my God, the glass in cars. We provide a safety device, so we need to take ourselves seriously. So, but
I think,
fitter is good.
As the industry evolves, like it has really in the last sort of 6-7 years, where we're bringing ADAS in and calibrations, I think the term technician is much more appropriate because, fitter, you're slapping glass in, you're slapping glass out. Now, when you're going into the computers of the cars and actually the technical side, I think technician is a much better suited word for what we do.
I agree, and that's a very that's a better way to put it than what I did when I stumbled over my fucking words right there because I couldn't figure out what the hell I wanted to say. My brain was working faster than my mouth would move, and that happens to me all the time for some reason. Like, I'll start talking about something, I'll get all excited, and then my brain goes 90 miles an hour, my mouth doesn't keep up, so it's like, doesn't come out really all that great. But let's switch to a little bit of personal right now. So you got the vinyls over your right side there. I see the nice turntable up on the top there. What type of music are you interested in? What type of music?
So my favorites is obviously the Boss, bit of Springsteen and Dylan. I love early Dylan. So when we go back, my stepfather was right into music. Like I remember growing up listening to Pink Floyd, Oasis, Dylan. Like we were right into it. So, and that steamrolled into me a lot. I love, sort of mainly that old school Dylan, Metallica. Like I'll let anything from that 80s go, like post 80s. Like I just love it.
Yeah,
we've got.
Well, I mean, and it's more rock style. I take it you're more rock. You're not a Motown fan, or do you mix in some Billie Holiday? Do you mix in some, Temptations?
It's definitely a bit of rock, but like I'm not obliged to it. Like listening to anything. Like I'll listen to anything that sounds good. Really, like if it's got a good beat, and I can just that's my Saturday afternoons. Normally, I spend in here just laying on the ground, just records on and debriefing my week in my head. Really,
That's awesome. I love that. I love me some old Bill Withers, some Otis Redding, just listening, and you could just feel the music, you feel, and I think that's why I attached when I was younger so much to hip hop, because you could just feel the pain in that music. You could just feel the pain. You could feel everything that they feel, and if you can relate to it. And, you know, rock music was, you know, big with me as well, more of a hardcore / punk than anything. Though I know I'm going to offend a lot of motherfuckers with this, but Metallica to me is cheesy. I was never a Metallica fan. And a lot of people were, just like I was never really a Pantera fan. A lot of people love the Cowboys from Hell Pantera thing. You know, and I have much respect for Dimebag. You know, he was actually murdered in the city, one of the cities that is close by me. So it's kind of like everybody around here is like Pantera fans because of, you know,
because of that. Yeah.
Yeah, because of that whole thing. But, you know, if I'm going to listen to rock, it's going to be more of the street hardcore stuff. That because you could feel their music. I like to feel, and don't get me wrong, Metallica's got a bunch of emotions and everything, but I like to feel the music I'm listening to.
I remember I think it must have been early high school, we had to do like a history, it's like modern history. And I just couldn't find anything that I was attracted to. And my teacher at the time, he's like, have you heard of the Sex Pistols? And I was like, no, never heard of the Sex Pistols. And he's like, I would have been 12 or 13, I reckon. So, and he's like, here's the Sex Pistols. And I just like went into this deep dive on Sid Vicious, and I like idolized this bloke. And it wasn't until like probably 10 years ago, I was actually like, God, I was idolizing the wrong kind of person when I was a teenager. Like this punk rock heroin addict from the UK. That, it was just everything your parents wouldn't want you to be listening to or doing. But it's
Nancy,
like, Johnny Rotten Sid. Like, I just thought it was the coolest thing ever, and just being this like little teenager going, this is awesome. And then when you realize that like what they're actually doing, you're like, okay, I wonder why the teachers wanted me to steer away from that a little bit.
I wonder why they were trying to guide me away from that path. And, you know, but like from that era of like the punk movement, like for me, one of my favorites from that era would be the Dead Kennedys. Huge Dead Kennedys fan. And then a little bit further into late 80s, early 90s, the Smiths were really big with me. You know, they had that kind of, you know, English vibe that everybody was digging on. And obviously the Clash, if you were into any kind of punk rock, you were, you know, from that whole, you know, the United Kingdom, you know, Clash was just, you know, classic. Everybody loved the Clash, you know, kind of thing.
It was the first sort of taste out of like London, of like good punk music, that like punk doesn't have to be bad music. Like the Clash were, and they still are. It's like a good band.
Oh, dude, London Calling. Oh my God, yes, they're solid band. I love the Clash, and you're right. It doesn't have to be bad music. And the first renditions of punk was bad music. I mean, that's what it was about. Yeah, frustration, and it sounded bad, but like I said, you could feel the music, you could feel the angst, you could feel the just, you know. And I think what drove me so much towards hardcore is like hardcore music has a mantra behind it, and it's like sick of it all, scratch the surface. It's we're going to get up, we're going to fight, you can't keep us down, you know, go fight, win, you know, kind of team thing. And I think that's what drew me to hardcore music the most, because it was like a real uplifting, but the music was still kind of bad, but it was just like a in your face kind of
positive message. Yeah, positive message, but we're still against it all kind of thing.
Yeah, because I grew up a straight edge kid, and so for me, until I was like 35, it was all like straight edge stuff, and like you couldn't be in that scene and not like that type of music or hear that type of music, you know, like Earth Crisis and, you know, that whole straight edge scene. And then, you know, I loved hip hop from a very young age, so I was kind of like mixing everything, you know. So, you know, had my punk days and still just a straight up hip hop kid. I've always been a hip hop kid. I love hip hop music.
I think that's where it starts for everyone too. Like, and then when you can hear the message, you like the beats, and then when you learn that hip hop music came from some other form of rock, or they get the samples out of 60s music, that's when you go, actually, this beat's cool. Like, there's more to music than just the words they're saying. It's like you can listen to instrumental albums and you go, this is still unreal, like without the words. It's what music's about, kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you on that one. Like the sampling, and then just the picking a little bit from here to there. You hear this horn, the producer will hear this horn, and then they'll hear this string, and they'll hear this, and then they put it all together in their head, and it's completely different songs. It just kind of pull together, and it makes you want to move. Any music that makes you want to move, you know, like for me, like when you're talking about that crossover, like
Yep.
Sublime, just even though it's all about, you know, drugs and things that I was never really into or hip to, it's still, I love the music. It makes me want to move, you know. It's like, okay, I can get into this. I can, you know, I can groove to this. So, but enough with the music because this is an autoglass show. But you said something about cycling too. So are you a cyclist?
So I am a triathlete. So I compete in long distance triathlons, so Ironman distance triathlons, which
So
is
like David Goggins style Iron Man
so
type of thing?
so in the triathlon world, David Goggins isn't considered a good athlete.
Gotcha.
David
Gotcha.
Goggins is considered a bloke that just pushes his physical limits, and like that in himself is impressive. But if you look at the guys at the top of the triathlon sport, they're doing things that David Goggins couldn't ever get even close to. Like they're running I think it's like 2 hour 30 marathons off the bike, or under 2 hour 40 marathons off a 180K bike ride.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, it isn't like 100 to 120 miles or something like that. It's the bike ride.
Yes, it's 180 Ks, which I don't know what. Yeah,
Yeah,
about 120 miles.
yeah,
Yeah, three
yeah.
3.8K swim, which I think is 2.2 miles. Actually, I could put.
That's and then
Yeah,
what is it? What is it? A 5 mile swim?
no, so
And
it's
then
3.8K swim, so that's 2.2 miles, I think.
two. Okay, so 2.2 mile swim, and then you
Yeah,
get out of that, and then you go for a 120 mile bike ride, and then you finish up with a 26 mile 26 mile marathon, and they're running
yeah,
them in under 2 hours and 40 minutes.
yeah. The pros are out of this world, and they're doing that 120-mile bike ride in close to 4 hours, if not. Like the records are sitting. People are going under 4 hours for that bike ride now.
For 120 miles under 4 hours. So they're averaging roughly
It's
about
not.
what, 28 to 30 miles an hour?
Yeah, so 120 miles would be 200 kilometers, so it'd be say 110 miles
Okay, so still
on the bike.
you're
Yeah,
still
yeah,
averaging roughly about the anywhere from 25 to 30 miles an hour average over that time to get to hit the 4 hour drop dead. Holy but
yeah.
Jesus.
The guys
That's
at
the
the top
Tour
of
de
the sport
France.
are. Yeah, it's like there's always that argument that could some of the best triathlete cyclists ride on these pro tour teams, and there's a few that you could say, yeah, could cross over either way.
Would they be leaders or
Like
domestiques?
domestic. So there's an Australian fellow by the name of Cameron Worth who rode for Ineos Grenadiers.
Yep.
He was a domestic, and he is probably one of the top 10 triathletes in the world for long distance.
I didn't know
And
Cameron. I didn't know Cameron was a triathlete.
yeah, so he rode. So there's the famous story. He rode Paris-Roubaix last year. So he did the race, and then after the race, he ran 21 Ks, so a half marathon back to the hotel.
Yeah, I mean, I know
What?
who he is
Yeah.
because you know I
Yeah.
watched the Tour de France. I know the ins and outs of most of the teams, and I know he was a domestique. But like, wow, I had no idea he was a triathlete. Like, why isn't that more publicized?
I think in the triathlon world, it is. It's like
Oh,
Cam Worth he's a triathlete that is in pro cycling, where I think the pro cycling, it's like you're a cyclist. This is what you do. Yeah, that
yeah. There's been
tradition
a
of
couple mountain bikers who have crossed over that they didn't get the recognition for being a mountain biker. It was just that
yeah,
they were a
like
cyclist, you know.
Tom Pitcock, Matthew Vanderpool, both of them, they're exceptional mountain bikers. But when they're at the tour, they'll mention like their cyclocross championships and stuff, but they'll never mention they were a gold medalist in mountain biking as well.
Like, yeah,
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 they sort of
it's
steer
crazy.
away from that. Yeah.
So you ride an aero bike, but what brand of bike do you ride?
So I ride track bikes. So I've got
Okay.
speed concept that I do my triathlon on, and I also ride a Madone as well for when I'm on the roads.
Yeah, Madone. Madone's a nice bike, nice carbon bike. Right, comes in at right 17.5 with non-carbon wheels on it, somewhere in there, pounds. You know, you
Oh,
would
I
have
couldn't do.
different
Yeah,
measurements than we do.
I sort of. Yeah, I probably couldn't tell you the weights. My race bike that like I did my triathlons on is around 15 kilos, I think. But for that, it's not really as much about weight. It's more about your aerodynamics that you can get.
Yeah, because you guys got to sit forward on the seat, laid out, and as an arrow as possible. And are the roads mainly straight that you ride on then? I mean, with big sweeper corners?
Yeah, nothing like. So I've done 5 full distance races, and none of them's really technical. It's all pretty much like an out and back course, or you do a 2-loop out and back course. You might have 4 or 5 hairpin dead turns in there, but yeah, nothing
I mean, but you're just ringing yourself out. Like you're literally just done.
Yeah, you're pretty much going. You're not quite at your full limit, but you're at a place where you can ride as hard as you possibly can, thinking about the run after. So you still got to save.
What's your VO2 max?
Couldn't tell you what my VO2 max is by the numbers. I haven't actually tested that.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I've never done that test.
A lot of the triathletes, I mean, now some cyclists are getting that too, but they're getting super techie with everything. So they know their watts, they know their VO2 max, they know all kinds of things like that. So I didn't know, like, if you just like to race, right?
Yeah, so I could go, like, I race pretty competitively in it. Like I could go into watts and stuff like that. But yeah, VO2 max isn't one like I've tested for. Just like I just don't think I have it available to me really to go and get tested.
You're a competitor. You're one of the top competitors in your division?
In my age group, so last year I raced in Hawaii at the Ironman World Championships. So I was over there for that. I also raced the half distance in New Zealand at the end of last year.
So you've completed an Ironman in Hawaii on the Big Island?
Yeah, on the Big Island, yeah, in the lava fields. It was a brutal day.
Congratulations, sir. Congratulations. That's fucking impressive beyond all. Like, seriously, I'm in awe right now. Like, I'm starstruck. I'm like, this is freaking crazy. I mean, that's top level pro shit. Okay. So now that we've established that you're this badass, so let's switch it back. How has that competitive nature helped you out when it comes to your everyday profession that you have before you get sponsored by, Power Bar to go race triathlons full time?
I think if anything, the triathlon, like, it really helps my mental state with Autoglass. So I've owned my own business. I've been fitting 15 years and I've owned it for 11, I want to say. So I've been in and out, like I've owned it the whole time, and I've been in and out of motivation. There was times where in the early days, I just went, this is my job. I go here, I make enough money to pay rent and have fun on the weekends. And that's all I looked at it. And it wasn't until probably 2018, I went, okay, let's give a good crack at this. Let's really run this like a business and make something of it. And that's sort of when everything changed for me. Stopped drinking as much, stopped partying as much, and sort of transitioned into a business owner in a sense. And then in 2020, we had a massive hailstorm here in Canberra. And it was like it was crazy how much work that generated. And I just sort of said to my offsider at the time, I said, let's just knuckle down. Anything I get, like any profit I made in that, I just put straight back into the business. We bought like all our advertising. I just made sure I reinvested that money instead of spending it. And then that sort of steamrolled the rest of my career and puts us where we are now from those, hard, like that decision then in 2020 to not take this money and go and buy toys and stuff, but like put it back into the business. Yeah.
Well, and do you attribute any of your hard training towards making better decisions? I mean, how's it? You mentioned your mental state with the training and everything, like your triathlons, your competitive nature, your health. Is that what did it, or did you just like, all right, I'm done being this guy?
So I actually got into triathlon in 2021. So it was actually after that. So I played field hockey as a kid, and then I went and worked in nightclubs. of like, that's the healthiest option anyone could do.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I went and worked in nightclubs there. And then when this hailstorm hit, it sort of went, I stopped working in the nightclubs for that 3 or 4 months while we were dealing with the overflow of work from that. Then COVID hit, and then that sort of transitioned me into triathlon. And then like I find it's the best. So like I'll train normally an hour and a half before work, or hour and a half before work, and an hour and a half after work. And what I find is it just, especially after work, it helps me decompress my whole day. And then it's like, what did we do wrong today? What can we do better tomorrow? Where did I go wrong? Did I talk to this customer wrong? Did I make the right decision? And instead of like you hear about business owners saying things like they were up all night because they couldn't sleep because they were thinking about X, Y, Z that happened. Well, I'm just doing that in a different time when I'm out on the bike or I'm running around the ovals. So I think for that aspect, yeah, it really helps.
Because I do know, from my listenings and through Andrew Huberman and everything like that, the way the brain will process information, it does it a little bit better when it's under physical stress. So I'm wondering if more business owners took your approach, maybe not as extreme as what you do, but maybe if they went and walked or ran or decompressed through some physical activity while they're thinking about their day, maybe they could come with a solution, not have to have the sleepless nights. What's your thoughts on that?
I think that's exactly right. Like just something as simple as if you watch how much better your day is if you wake up 20 minutes earlier and just go for a walk around the block, where you just, nothing bad has happened at that point in your day, and you just walk around the block and you just sort of show a bit of gratitude to life. Before anything bad can happen, you just watch how much better your day gets. And then the same after work, you go for a walk. It can be as simple as like you finish your last job, you're at a park with the van, you just park it, you do a lap of the park, or you jog around the park and you just decompress. And like everything just seems less stressful, I find anyway.
No,
like,
I like that approach. I think that's great.
Yeah. I think every business owner or manager or something should incorporate some form of exercise into their daily routine. Just purely for that human sense. Yeah.
Yeah. What about technicians? For the fact that technicians will have a lot more wear and tear on their body throughout the day. You're a technician. You understand the grind. You understand everything as far as what goes into the job. So what do you think? I mean, do you have that same approach with a technician because they just exert themselves physically all day? Is it the same for them as it is an owner?
I think it's very similar. It's like the most, like in my circle's a bit different to others now. Like everyone goes to the gym. My partner, all her friends go to the gym. It's sort of, in a lot of cultures, it's like, especially Australian culture, it's pretty normal to go to the gym after work. So I think and if you can go, at least find 20 minutes, half an hour a day in any, like if you're a technician especially, it's going to make your job easier too, because you're going to be stronger, you're going to be fitter. The jobs that, like lifting out a big windscreen isn't going to be as hard because you've conditioned your body a bit better to it.
Okay, yeah, my son is getting into CrossFit, and he's trying to convince me a little bit by sending me these videos of him doing all this heavy weight, because he knows how much I used to love really lifting. Like I used to love lifting weights. Like it was like one of my favorite things to do, and I dabbled in CrossFit a little bit before COVID shut all the gyms down. I never went back. So like he knows how to push my buttons a little bit. So he's been sending me these videos of him like today he got a max on the clean and jerk. It was 225, and like he's almost 30. So for him, it's like sending me these things to try to coax me into getting back into the physical part of lifting heavy weight. And I'm just, I move a good bit, but like lifting heavy, I need to get back to it. Nothing bad ever came from picking something heavy up.
Yeah, like it makes, as long as you are doing it in a safe way. If you go out there and you're going to squat 200 pounds and you haven't squatted in 10 years, yeah, you're probably going to hurt yourself and you're not going to have a good time. But if you're just sensible about it and just like, it's just moving the body. Like, I think, like you talk to anyone that exercises consistently, they won't say, oh, it's bad. They'll say, yeah, I feel better when I do it. I hate to do it. Sometimes it's the last thing you want to do, but you talk to anyone after it, it's the best, like the best feeling you're gonna have.
Yeah. And then for neuroplasticity, as you get older, making yourself do things you don't want to do actually helps with, growing new connections and pathways in the brain to help you learn new skills, to help you stay fresh, stay open minded. You got to keep that neuroplasticity going so, you don't end up having any kind of cognitive disease later on. So, you got to start making yourself do things you don't want to do. It's so fucking hard and it's so easy to say that. But sometimes if you can buckle down and make yourself do things you don't want to do, yeah, I agree with you. You just have to do it. I need to do it more. So, but yeah. So everyone get healthy, stay healthy. And I love that your culture is like that. Like we have a culture here in the United States, and it might be the same way in Australia. Like the new status symbol is not that Maserati. It's if you're in shape over the age of 50.
Yeah.
It's like the status symbol now. Yeah, because so many people aren't. Like, so many people are not in shape after, 35, 40. So, like, your status symbol now is not that expensive car. It's whether you're in shape at an older age. So,
And
is
the
it like that in
beauty of,
Australia?
I think it's a bit of both. Like it depends on the area you're in. If you're up on the Gold Coast in Queensland, you've got to have it all. You've got to have the six pack and you've got to have the nice car. But then, like, I think a lot of people, like a lot of my friends, they've blown out over the years and then they've come back and they've recently had kids and stuff. And they're like, I just want to be able to play with my kids and like
Yeah.
be healthy enough at work that you can climb flights of stairs and still feel fine to do the job you got to do. So like,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's important. Yeah, that's important. Kids were a motivator for me in my young age, and now my granddaughter is a motivator for me so that I can play with her. She comes up to the house
yeah,
and it's like, okay, she's ball full energy. She's 2.5 years old. She's ready to go. So it's like, come on, Pop, you got to go too, And my wife's the same way. It's like, we got to go. So yeah, it's a great motivator. So switching gears a little bit, uh, there's so much back and forth on the Australia site about urethane or what is that, S&P polymers.
yeah.
What's your thoughts on that?
I stand very firmly on. Here's my simple thought is Australia is not more advanced than anywhere in the world in anything. Like we might have better mining in some way, but that's it. So when we look at Australia with the polymers that are being used, Australia is the only country in the world where polymer is the preferred glue.
Yep.
So why is that? And it stems down to is a lot of fit error. So you can get away with not prepping a window. You can literally unbag a window, slap polymer on it and slap it in a car and it will hold. It won't leak and it will hold. So from a technician point of view, excellent. From a safety point of view, it isn't up to the same specs that the OEM requirement for strength, tensile strength, elasticity, none of that is the same. But from a technician point of view, you are not getting warranties for leakers. You're not getting windows fall out. Because like I can guarantee you can literally unbag a window, cut an old window out, slap the glue over dirt, debris, it will stick. It will hold in. Yeah, it is. If it had the same structural strength as a polyurethane, it would be the best glue in the world. But it just, unfortunately, it doesn't. Yeah, it would be. But unfortunately, it just doesn't have that required strength that the OEMs need.
Yeah.
And the way a lot of these companies, so all of it's being crash tested appropriately. But the thing is with a crash test, to pass a crash test, you have to hit a barrier at, I think it's 64 Ks an hour. Mm-hmm. That's the only requirement to pass that crash test. Whether you let off 1 airbag, 2 airbag, 3 airbag, have a dummy, don't have a dummy. As long as the window doesn't fall out when it hits that barrier, you get your certificate. So it's all the little things like how many airbags actually went off in that car when that hit the barrier. How many dummies, were they 100 percentile dummies or were they 40 percentile dummies that survived?
Yeah.
So there's all these little things that have been done to manipulate the tests and what people think.
Mm-hmm.
And then they'll advertise, a lot of them will advertise where OEM approved. Now, anyone can advertise OEM approved. So all you have to do, if you went out there tomorrow and created a car company, we call it James's Car Company, and you make your own cars, they're OEM cars because they're yours.
Yeah.
And we use the glue that I made on your car. That product is OEM approved.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So they all say, yes, we're OEM approved, but what are you OEM approved of?
Yeah. What OEM? What manufacturer?
Yeah.
What original manufacturer is using your product for approval? Yeah. Wow.
And then they hide behind, oh, there's non-competes, we can't say this. Like, and they use their little loopholes to get around it. Where my thing is, like, I'll use a product that is being used in America, is being used in South Africa, is being used in New Zealand, being used worldwide. That's the product I'll use.
Yeah. I do know that we have a very extensive cleaning method we have to do because of all the VOCs that need to be removed, the cancer causing, all of the harmful agents that could make polyurethane stick even better, no matter what the condition of the window or condition of the pinch weld was. But we have to remove those. We can't have those in our products. So we do have to do extensive cleaning on our pinch welds and on our, glass. Glass is getting shipped in. The same with you. It's getting crated in. So they have to spray it with insecticides. They have to spray it with all kinds of fumigants. So then you got to clean all that off. So yes, for urethane to stick, you have to have a very clean surface. But if you're a trained technician, you know how to clean that surface. There are products out there to clean that surface the way it needs to be cleaned. Your urethane manufacturer will dictate how you clean that, but there are steps that'll stop you from having leaks and stop you from having windows fall out and different things like that, as long as you're following the steps correctly. And what we're transferring to in America right now is a lot of companies are coming out with primerless, which it was primerless. And then we went to primer because primer has a little bit more solvents in there to eat through a little bit more of the contaminants. And then it gives it a nice solid bonded bed for the urethane to go on top of. Now we're going back to, as long as it's clean enough, we can have primerless products on the glass, but you still have to primer your scratches on the body.
The big problem, I think, we have is, one of the major companies here has used a polymer for the last 15, 20 years, probably even more. They've recently just moved over to Sika, actually. But the problem so fitters will work for this company. They'll learn how to fit using a polymer. And then they get their qualifications. Then they go, right, I'm going to go work for another company that uses a polyurethane. And they don't know what they're doing. So they don't know how to clean a glass properly. They don't know how to prep a glass properly. And then they're getting all these failures. And it's like, well, where do you lay the blame? But the fitters lay the blame on the product. I never had these problems before working at the first company. Now I'm at this company using a different product, and all of a sudden I'm getting all these leaking windows and windows are falling out.
Do you lay the blame? Do you lay the blame on the training?
Yeah, I do. I would say the problem is in the certification, because in the certification that is still not policed enough in Australia, you just have to be use the adhesive system that the company you're working for uses. It's not, you have to use multiple adhesive systems.
And then the certification that comes from the adhesive manufacturer, is it trained to, or is it just, well, this is what we use, we purchase enough products, so they're going to certify my technician?
Certification of adhesive products in Australia isn't really a thing at all.
Oh, really?
So Sika only just released, maybe a month ago, the Sika Online Academy, which is an online certification. But that's the only one I've ever seen in Australia. All these polymer companies don't have any certifications to give their techs. Same with there's, what have we got? Four adhesive companies, 5 major adhesive companies in Australia, and Sika's the only one that offers a certification, and it only became available a month or two ago.
That's frightening. How are you supposed to use a product if you don't know how to use a product? And you're right. If you're used to using a polymer to where all you have to do is cut the window out, put glue down, and then it sticks. Of course, when you're told that you now have to clean it and clean it a certain way, and you're not told how to clean it that certain way, just the reason why you're getting failures is you haven't cleaned it well enough. Well, if you've never been trained how to clean it, how the fuck are you supposed to know how to clean it? You just, to me, you'd be like, oh, let's spray some glass cleaner on there and then wipe it off. And there's all these contaminants left behind and cross-contamination, oils from your fingers if you're not wearing nitrile gloves. Like there's a whole process behind it. And if you don't know, you don't know. And of course, technicians are going to be like, yeah, I'd rather use that stuff that I don't have any leaks with. It might not be as safe for the customer, but I don't have the health risk with the other product. Plus, I don't have to clean as well, so that saves me time. So no wonder no one wants to use urethane when there are certain steps you have to take to make sure it's. Boy, that's
adding
that's eye opening.
5 to 10 minutes a job. You're adding on by doing the proper procedure with cleaning, scrubbing, activating, priming, where blokes can save 5-10 minutes. And back in the day, the product like the MS polymers used to be sometimes half the price of polyurethanes. So that was another major selling point for people. But where now they're about equal, if not more expensive. But as you said, like they're not getting the failures, so why would they change?
Yeah, I mean, if you're not going to give me a why behind to change, and then you're not going to give me a good training to make sure that I'm fulfilling that why to change, I'm not going to go away from something that worked. It works. I mean, I'm not having customer complaints. I'm not having the leaking. Like I said, it might not be as safe, but I'm saving time. I'm able to get more windshields put in. I'm able to make my company more money. And I don't have the issues that I've had with urethane. So it is lack of training, plain and simple, period.
Yep.
Urethane manufacturers have failed Australia. I'm sorry to say this. If any urethane manufacturers are listening and you sell in Australia, you have failed the technicians in Australia, period.
I would, Sika have done a lot in the last 6 months to bring out the online training academy. And I know a lot of guys have done it online. I know a lot of guys have moved from an MS polymer back to a polyurethane after doing it. So I think it's the right move. But my opinion is any windscreen fitter or technician in Australia should be able to rock up to any job with any product and do that job. Whether I'm giving you a 3-hour drive away Sika product, you should know what that product is and how to do it.
But if you don't have the resources to know what that product is and how to do it, how are you supposed to be able to do that? Without the resources of learning, it's not intuitive. You're not born with that knowledge. So without that knowledge, I agree with you. A technician should be able to, whatever product is in their van, or in their shop, they should know that product well enough to roll up and do it with whatever that product is. I agree with you 100%. But to play not even devil's advocate, just to put my opinion out there, if you don't have the resources to know how that works and you're not willing to research how that works, it sounds to me you've researched a product, which, a good technician should be willing to research. You should be willing to invest in your job and research and invest in yourself to research. But if the information's too hard to find, why in the world would anyone want to research? I don't know.
Why would they want to spend their time learning something that they don't need to learn because what they're using works? Yeah, it's an interesting thing because, so the Australian standards, that's being looked at again because that was changed. I've got to word this so I don't get myself into too much trouble. That was changed in 2017, and that was changed in favor of bringing polymers onto the market. Now, the reason it was changed, the wording it was changed to, doesn't make sense. If you look at it, I think the actual wording is a product must meet OEM specifications or be specifically designed for a motor vehicle. And so how that can be interpreted is you can go to any chemist and say, I want you to make a product that is designed for cars even if it doesn't meet OEM specifications, by the standard rules, it still classifies because it's designed for that purpose.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a loophole. That's a loophole that would be should be maybe reviewed and looked at and shored up a little bit.
They are reviewing it. I believe it's just been open to get reviewed. So I think that what they're going to try and do is make it mimic the American standard as best as possible.
Yeah. Because I mean, you should have OE or equivalent or above. Meets or exceeds OE specifications is usually how our standard reads, is meets or exceeds OEM specifications. So yeah, that would be, I don't know how many companies or if any companies actually use MS polymers in their windshield insulation, but a majority of the world uses urethane for their windshield installations from the factory. That doesn't mean that it's always going to be like that. That just means that's what we have technology-wise currently that every manufacturer feels comfortable using, that is meeting certain requirements and certain federal motor vehicle safety standards here in the United States. That's a tricky one. I just know that it's a lot of back and forth on the Australia site. And for me, I don't like to interject because I'm not in your circle. I don't know what your life is like where you're at. So I like to kind of this is what we know. This is what I know. This is what I've been taught. I'm regurgitating what I've been taught. I put a little bit of thought behind my responses and I get a little passionate about things, but for me to go in and tell someone using MS polymers in Australia that they're doing it wrong, it's not my jam. I'm not going to be that guy, but I want to understand why someone would choose one over the other. And so far, the reasons for choosing it is simple and boils down to lack of information.
Yeah, and from the fit, like the best way it was ever explained to me was the owner of one of the big companies said to me, we can't be there to control what every fitter is doing. So we found a product that eliminates human error, essentially, which was an MS polymer. But then it's all come out over time that, yeah, it's not as strong, it's not as good. And that company has now moved back to a polyurethane.
Okay. Because, yes, technician error removes technician error. They don't have the leaks. They don't have the callbacks. They don't have that. But if it's not as strong in a vehicle accident, it's going to lead to more deaths. And more deaths, that's not a good thing. And, I'm not, but I do know that urethanes could be a lot stronger. They could be closer to what MS polymers were if they weren't removing so many of the VOCs that actually help bond. But in the United States, especially in California, they have Prop 65, which is, it regulates a lot of the products that could be in a lot of the chemicals could be in your product that'll help it bond because of the health risks. Now, it's still risky, and I heard MS polymers don't carry the same health risk as the urethane does. But I don't know that. I don't know anything about MS polymers except for the Kenworth W900 semi-truck had Bostic Simpson, I think it's like 8170 or 8120, something like that, is what glued their gasket to their body, and that stuff sucked.
That's
the only MS polymer I've ever known.
It's interesting. Like, you could go, like, my end of the day, the reason it all comes up again, this polyurethane MS polymer, is because the Australian standard's getting looked at again. Now, if these MS polymers meet the standard and they're strong enough, like all the reps claim they are, it doesn't matter if the Australian standard gets open, because all the reps are claiming our products are good enough and strong enough. Doesn't matter what they do with the Australian standard. If your product is OEM approved and strong enough, then it'll be fine. The fitters in Australia can continue to use it for years. But if it's not, then it needs to be stopped being used.
And here's my question, okay? God damn, I hate being this guy. But when you pull up to a vehicle that you know from the original manufacturer it has urethane, must you remove that all the way to the paint or pinch weld, maybe bare metal or a little bit lower? Must you take all the urethane off? Because MS polymers and urethanes do not bond to each other.
I think it's the other way around. I think MS polymer will bond to a urethane, but a urethane will not bond to an MS polymer.
Oh,
So
okay,
it's,
okay, okay. I
yeah,
didn't know that.
so
Yeah.
it's if we're going to a job that's been done before with an MS polymer, then you have to grind it back to bare metal essentially to get the urethane to stick.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. See, I didn't
yeah,
know that because I've only heard it from the urethane. If you show up, because we have a few manufacturers of the fifth wheel campers here in the
yep,
United States that they'll put that front think about the big Montana. It's got that big front glass that is glued in, and that's glued in with a polymer because it has no structural integrity. It just keeps water out basically. And we've had to replace a lot of those, and then we've had a couple that didn't stick, and I'm like, what the is going on? So then I called around and figured out that Thor used the MS polymer on it, and then it was like, well, your urethane won't stick to it, so you have to take it all the way down to
yep.
the fiberglass framing, and then reprime it, and then it'll stick. And never had any issues. I didn't realize it was the other way around, so it wouldn't matter. Okay,
Yeah, it's if you're going from MS polymer back to a polyurethane, it won't stick.
gotcha.
Which,
Okay, well, thank
yeah,
you. I learned something.
yeah,
Because
it's
that makes sense why, because if you made it that hard to where they would have to take it down the bare metal every time, you know what I mean? Like the first time, because then it would, that would probably be like, no, I want to use your thing because it'll stick to that, you know what I mean? Kind of thing. But yeah,
there's a
I
saying.
feel you now. It makes more sense.
Yeah, we say it around my shop. We say lick and stick. That's all they do with the MS
Lick and
polymers. You
stick
just
it.
lick and stick it. Yeah.
Lick it and stick it, baby. Oh my goodness! Every time I hear that, because it's a term that we use here in America too sometimes. But every time I hear that, all I think about is that '90s freaking hip hop song. so, so anyways, that's another rabbit hole. Anyway, oh man. Besides that, but do you think that if the standard passes, because if you guys' standard gets revisited and it passes, um, you think it's going to cause an uproar with your MS polymers because they're going to lose a lot of sales?
It'd be interesting to see what actually happens. So, like in New South Wales, which is probably the biggest market state in Australia, they announced a couple of years ago you had to have a certification under TAFE New South Wales, a Cert 3 in auto glazing to fit windows. So you had to have that. So there was this big uproar. Everyone had to do it. All these guys went and got their certifications and did it through TAFE New South Wales. Cost blokes heaps of money to get it done. And then there's absolutely zero policing of it. Like it's not policed by
Oh,
anyone. Like the suppliers will sell to anyone. It's just not policed. It was literally just what it looks like is a massive cash grab. And
exactly what
so
it looks like.
yeah, I think even if the Australian standard changes, it's not gonna. A lot of these blokes, their mentality is, it's been working forever for me. I haven't had any problems. I'm not changing, no matter what any paperwork says. So, like, I think from a supply point, eventually they will have to do something and say, right, this is an Australian standard. We have to market it differently, but they'll market it in a way where it's, yeah, this product is designed for sticking quarter windows into cars. What you do with it after is up to you.
Gotcha. So
Yeah,
the
I
best
don't.
bet would be
Yeah,
for urethane manufacturers to get out there, hit the streets, speak to these technicians, train these technicians, explain the benefits, and try to get them on board that way. Win them with the why. Do you think that's the way to do it?
yeah. I think that's the way to do it, and I think more and more, like I know firsthand, more and more people are coming back to a polyurethane from an MS polymer. But there'll always be some guys and some shops that just won't change the way they do things. It's like when you say
Yeah, like
there's fitters calibration all over the world. There's fitters that go, no, doesn't need it. And you can't change their minds. No matter what insurance says, no matter what anyone says, those blokes' minds aren't going to change.
yeah, we have people here that don't pull cow panels, and you try to get them on board. They'll run a round bead instead of a V bead. You try to get them on board, and just no matter how hard you try, you're not going to convince them to change what they're doing because it's worked for them. And it's, yeah, I agree with you. But the more people we can to bring over for, the side of safety, the better both markets will be, United States and Australia. So I do like how cohesive the Australian group is. I believe I was telling Kathy this, and I've spoken with a few I have a few colleagues now that are from Australia that I'm looking forward to speaking with and working with. And I like how cohesive it's, even if you guys are having your back and forths, which I've noticed, it's kind of like it's not on the lines of, oh yeah, well you're dumb, I'm right, you're wrong, shut up. It is a
It's
back
like,
and forth. It's,
yeah, and like me and Tim are a perfect example. Like we were going back and forth over the polymer polyurethane, but me and Tim are still great mates. Like, and
yeah,
I don't hold Tim's opinion against Tim, and Tim would be the same with me. Like it's an opinion. That's what makes the world go around at the end of the day. Like Tim is one of the best blokes in Australia, especially in this industry. And yeah, like that, his opinion on glue doesn't change my opinion on him whatsoever.
yeah,
And
and it
yeah,
shouldn't.
yeah, it shouldn't.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I think we have like from the Facebook group like a tight knit community of people that actually just want to see people do well.
yeah,
No one's there
I like
to
that.
discourage or bring anyone down. Like, and every now and then someone will come in and do that, and Kathy and Lundy sort them out pretty quick.
Yeah, two great people right there. Kathy and Lundy, both of you, if you listen to this, thank you for everything you do for the industry. You have brightened my life completely, so thank you for that. And we're coming up on 50 minutes here, so I thank you because you've been on the list of people to get with, and you finally said, let's do this. So I know that it's been going around for quite a few months since I talked to Tim, and your name came up way back in the day when I first did my show with Lundy. He brought you up. And then, because my show was just getting started, it was kind of, this was the first years. It was kind of, it was raw. It was raw. Let's just say that. It was very raw. And then, your name came back up again with Tim, because I really want someone from the Australia market to, like my friend Jorge, if you've listened to the Spanish shows,
Yeah,
what he's doing is he's hosting a weekly show from my platform. Basically, he brings his guest on. They do it all in Spanish. I basically am here to hit record. When it's done, stop it. I go through and throw a little bit in front of it, a little bit behind it maybe, and then I put it out when it's time to be released. And I think that with the way that the market is in Australia, I think that there's a lot of knowledge to be passed around the world there. So I think that someone doing a podcast, and every time your name is the one at the top of the list, man, let's get it. So, if you have anything that you would like to, maybe, I understand your time, it takes a lot of time for this, but I will offer up the same thing that I offered Jorge. You get your guest, you're able to set up a time. I'm just here to hit record and then hit stop, do a little fine polishing of an intro and an outro, and then send it on its way. You please feel free to do that, because I'm more than happy to do whatever I can to progress the industry. And I feel that there's a lot of knowledge in Australia that can be beneficial to the rest of the world.
it's something like it's crossed my mind. But with like this new venture, me and Kathy are on with the Auto Glass Connect. We didn't dive into that yet, but we can save that for another day. Like that's sort of eating up any spare time I do have. And that the focus of Auto Glass Connect is to bring insurance work to independent shops Australia wide. So that's what we're targeting with that. And that is this rabbit hole we've gone down. And it's like, yeah, any spare bit of time I've got now, I'm spending on reading court documents from monopoly cases in
Yeah.
Australia, or yeah, like just royal commissions into the panel industry and how they allocate insurance work. Like it's just this
Oh,
crazy corrupt system
system.
that,
And you're going to be
yeah,
fighting
that,
the system. Oh,
well, we're just trying to create an option that any windscreen fitter that meets the certifications and is a good windscreen fitter can bill an insurance company and get paid for the work they do, where the customer isn't forced to go down this company or that company. It's like the customer has been using, let's use Tim as an example. Customer's been using Tim for 20 years, but now his insurance company says, no, you have to go use this bloke down the road. We're not going to pay him. Like, that's just not right.
that's not
In
right.
Yeah, and like that's where me and Kathy are trying to change. So we're trying to get, yeah, our
How
voices
does
heard. And
one, yeah, how does one go about contributing to your cause with Autoglass Connect? If anybody listening to this would like to reach out to you and to Kathy and to get on board with the Autoglass Connect, because we are going to do another show now that you said that. I definitely want to dive into that, but let's light a little bit of that fire. And how would someone get a hold of to contribute to Autoglass Connect, and what do you need?
So at the moment, we're still in the network building phase. So we've currently got about 85 independent shops Australia-wide signed up to us. And at the moment, we're just building the network. So you send us, myself a message or Kathy a message, we'll send you back a quick form that you fill out, and it says where you are, the areas you covered, the products you use, certifications you might have, whether you do ADAS or not. If you're mobile or your workshop, we add you to our network. And then, we send out emails. There's actually one going out today. We send out another email just updating where we're at and what we're doing. And part of that also, we've got sort of a little buying group on the side, which you can access cheaper products. So consumable products, glues, we're selling it at, we don't make any money off it. We're selling it at a rate that's so cheap that, it can bring people to make more profit on their jobs.
Okay. So you heard it here first. If you're listening in the Australia group, if you're listening in any other part of the world where you can maybe lend some advice, if you're if you're a player that understands this, that maybe wants to reach out and help them. If you're a urethane manufacturer, please get down to Australia, give them some more options for urethane manufacturer training, to try to help that out. If you're in Australia and you want to be part of this independent group, Autoglass Connect, is it Autoglass Connect? Or is that am I saying that right? Okay.
Yeah, that's correct.
Autoglass Connect. Get in with Autoglass Connect, get a hold of Matt, get a hold of Kathy, get it so that way you can build this network, because just like everything, if you work together, your voice is heard louder than it is by speaking up yourself. So with that, I definitely want to have you back on to talk about Autoglass Connect, because I ate up your time with nonsense, and I apologize about that.
No, that's fine.
It was fun. It was a great conversation. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for just being part of this group and for being part of everything that makes Autoglass great. So hold on. Don't hang up right when I hit stop record, because we got to let everything upload with the Riverside app. But do you want to say anything to anybody before we leave?
No, we're all good. Thanks heaps for having me. It's been, awesome. As you said before we started, you reckon I'll have a bit of fun, and I have. It's been excellent. So, and thanks for doing this, because there's not enough podcasts out there in Autoglass, which is something lots of us are passionate about. So, thanks for doing it. And so we can hear other people's stories around the world, because, I know it fills a lot of my time in at jobs.
Well, good. Thank you for listening, and thank you for anybody that listens to my show. I appreciate that, and I agree with you. There needs to be more podcasts. There's plenty of airspace. There's plenty of knowledge out there to be passed. So if you have a passion to create, please do it, whether it be TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, podcast, creating educational videos that you could just send to your friends or whatever. There's so much knowledge out there that we need to make it easier to access. And so like I said, everybody, thank you for listening, and we'll see you later. I would like to thank you for taking your time and spending it with us on Put 'em on the Glass podcast. We hope that you enjoyed the show, you enjoy all the content we put out. The best way to support the show is to take our profession seriously, invest in yourself, invest in the profession, and pass on any knowledge you have to anybody who needs it. So thank you for listening. Thank you for being a just great part of Put 'em on the Glass podcast.